Oh god, what happened here? The serpent's hand were here.
Huh, what a wise one. Well, if you're so wise, don't move. I don't want to hurt you, but I will if I have to.
Whoa, if you don't want to hurt me, then why the gun? Let's just put it down and we can talk about this, alright?
Heh, good with words you are. I like you. Say, kid, you'd make a great addition to the serpent's hand. You want to let me help you get out of this joint?
Don't make me laugh. You think that of me? I've heard the murmurs from guards outside my cell. Foundation calls you a bunch of untrustworthy murder hobos. Well, then again, the Foundation ain't saints either. Fine, you have yourself a deal. Hey, that's the
Oh no! Alright. Oh god. Alright, D-Class, stay behind me. I don't know when he's leaving. Huh? Show yourself! Huh? Alright. I think the coast is clear. Oh man. How'd you even...
Pickpocketing. The whole reason I ended up in here. They locked me up, but were forced to lock up my skills along with me.
I just wanted to help you.
And I just want out. The Foundation doesn't trust you? The ones who treat us like lab rats? What kind of monster are you, where the SCP Foundation fears you?
Please, I don't want to hurt you.
Hurt me? I call the shots here. Most Class D just take what's given. Me? I put my skills to you. I tried to warn you. SCPSL is a game of multiple roles, factions, and items, all ingredients to a big stew that creates what we know the game as. Factions, such as MTF and Chaos Insurgency, have deeper divisions within them, like cadets, captains, riflemen, and repressors, that create a level of authority and variety that changes between each role. These are all fun, yet outside of this, little variety exists. This is best seen in Class D and Scientists, where if you spawn, you're always going to see the same items, same spawn point, and same lack of abilities. You'll always be guided along a similar path, yet what if there was a way to widen this variety a little? Add more unique aspects to each individual role, not too far-fetched from what the game is familiar with, yet allowing for significant aspects that can alter how you approach around or progress through it. Well, there is a way. Why else would I make this video? Today we'll be exploring something that the community murmurs about, yet there has been no general consensus on. An experimental video where we explore how subclasses could be added to SCPSL. To give a more in-depth summary of what subclasses are, they are special tweaks or quirks to a role that give it a significant enough change to alter gameplay if wanted, but are not big enough to designate it as its own role. An example of this would be what the introduction skit to this video was, a Pickpocketer, a type of Class D that can steal items from other players. It doesn't change up Class D too much, where its gameplay is drastically altered and you have a different goal or a different round entirely, yet allows for scenarios in which gameplay will differ from a regular Class D, allowing for unique approaches to playing the game and unique ways for the game to play out. It's a fun small addition to the role that spices it up a tad, while not being a forceful overhaul of how the role functions. Yet, with this description, the line still remains a little blurry on what a subclass could be. A Class D spawning with a medkit doesn't alter the game much, yet adds a sturdier ball for the player to start rolling on. A Class D being able to use a medkit 25% faster, or using it where it heals 10% extra health, doesn't alter the game much, yet gives an infinite time where the Class D is more benefited by health items. A Class D being able to pickpocket doesn't alter the game too much, yet adds a new ability not yet seen to SL to change up gameplay interactions. And lastly, a Class D could have a pocket knife, able to deal damage in close quarters, being a new item to the game that could be used by other classes as well. I'm sure you can see I listed the types of subclasses from least to most impactful. The question is, where do you draw the line? And more importantly, where does the majority of this community? For the sake of this video, I'm setting the line at the furthest possible setting, adding a deep variety from more items to spawn with to giving abilities. Still, I think it's important to verbalize these differences to allow for discussion on where the line should be drawn. You have every inclination to prefer subclasses to have the line drawn anywhere, and if you disagree with how something I made was added, I encourage you to either reimagine it how you see fit, or just imagine I never brought it up and scrap it, so it doesn't ruin the rest of the ideas. So now that we know how our subclasses are going to look, let's get into the meat of this video. Let's start with a class that has the least depth to it regarding items and ability, the Class D. The Class D is arguably the most empty class, which allows it to grow the most. Class D are criminals who got transported to the Foundation to be lab rats for various experiments, being contained in cells in light containment. There is a lot of room to play off of this, being they are of criminal backgrounds and almost there without their real consent. Starting off with something simple, we explore the Janitor. This has been something I discussed over my reworking of the light containment zone, but essentially this would be a class that spawns within a separate part of the map compared to the other Class D, being in a janitor's closet. This janitor's closet would contain a janitor's keycard, not only diversifying where the Class D spawns, but allowing them to start the game with a very small yet helpful head start. This gives the player a strong and more diverse starting position, gaining extra loot, as well as being separated from Class D, allowing the player at a chance to get to explore untouched rooms. Next, let's move on to the example I've been using for the entire introduction to this video, the Pickpocketer. This would play into the fact that Class D have a criminal background, giving the player a unique set of skills they have picked up through various crimes that other people don't really have. This Class D would be dexterous, where when a player is not facing the Class D, the personnel just needs to hold a specific key for a couple of seconds on another player's back to steal an item. Using this ability would open the other person's inventory, showcasing all of their items except the one that they are holding. All it takes is the player to click on one of these items to bring it to their own inventory. In addition, this subclass would also be able to break out of their cuffs if detained, needing to hold a button while standing still for a period of time. The fact that they need to stand still to execute this maneuver should allow players who have detained the Class D to somewhat detect if the Class D is trying to use this ability, enabling counterplay. This gives the player a unique ability that can twist certain situations around if they occur to the Class D, a way to give themselves an advantage in certain situations that they would otherwise not have, but it would also not work in other situations. Next up, we land on the Hacker, a subclass that also plays on the idea of a criminal background, their role having a special ability, to bypass. The Hacker would begin the game with an electrical chip, which holds a smart charge within it. This electrical component can be placed on any keycard reader, and so long as the keycard reader doesn't require permission of an O5 card, the electrical chip will bypass the scanner, forcing the door open or the cabinet open, while sacrificing a charge. The chip would only have a few charges before it dies, rendering it useless and removing itself from the player's inventory. This would allow the player a strong item in the beginning of the game, completely new and not yet seen, that can allow the player a lot of advantages early game, but will ultimately be less efficient compared to the keycards that are introduced later in the game. In addition, the fact that this has a few charge should make players forced to strategize whether they should use it or not, rather than waste it. Lastly, for the Class D, we have the Sniper. The Sniper has a trained background of firearms, making them far more efficient with weaponry. The Sniper has reduced recoil to guns, being far more efficient with them, at the cost of minimalized optimization. The Sniper is unable to change gun attachments after they've fired their first shot with that gun, because they've already become accustomed to the weight and the other specs of the gun that they've taken into account to become efficient with it. This would allow a long-lasting perk to the player, where they are far more efficient with guns, at the cost of not being able to customize their gun like usual to adapt to situations unfolding. Another class within the facility is Scientists. Scientists are the most akin to Class D, both being a civilian role that seeks to escape the facility. Yet, contrasting to the Class D, the Scientists work with the MTF, having conducted experiments with Class D and SCPs. Let's start off with the Researcher. Scientists conduct tests with SCPs, giving them some level of knowledge of what's contained within the facility, even if it changes. The Researcher would start the game with knowledge of one SCP that has breached containment, giving them a helpful starting point. This would allow for useful information early game that can change game strategy, and/or assist in the Scientist's survival. That will ultimately fall flat a couple of minutes into the game. Continuing, we have the Security. Scientists deal with deadly SCPs and hostile Class D daily, and it is expected that some would have some level of protection. This leads me to the Security, a scientist that specializes with these more dangerous foes. The Scientist would start the game with light armor and a pistol. This gun would contain very few bullets, and only serve as a defensive measure, being barely applicable offensively. This would give the player helpful starter loot, as well as a gun that they can find ammo for in the future, yet this loot would be weak compared to the ones accessible later in the game. Following up, we have the Dissident. The SCP Foundation can be sketchy. After all, their practices can be considered highly immoral. This leads me to a Scientist, untrusting in the Foundation as of recent, preparing to quit just before this breach. This Scientist would hold contraband due to their rebellious nature, having a modified keycard slightly better than the Scientist keycard. A keycard that combines the Scientist and Zone Manager keycard, allowing for gate access as well as normal Scientist keycard access. This would allow helpful starting loot that gives the Scientist a more powerful starting point, allowing room for more differing strategy, yet being way less powerful than most of the keycards that become accessible. Lastly, we have a Scientist that holds multiple expertise, having a wider field than initially appears with the Doctor. With a background in healthcare, start the game with adrenaline in addition to your starter loadout. In combination, the Doctor would have much more experience with healthcare items, taking slightly longer to use them, yet making them more effective, healing an extra bit of health. This would allow the player a more effective way to heal themselves at the cost of taking slightly longer, slightly different gameplay and interactions, as well as giving them a healthier foot to start on. Moving on, let's explore the class that is Facility Guards. Guards that monitor and secure the facility to ensure safety and containment of dangerous entities. They are also there to be quick on-site responders to any breaches or things going wrong with the facility. Let's start off with the Warden, the head of the Facility Guards, carrying a crossfec and combat armor. A stronger start to the round, as well as having a higher level of authority than the other Facility Guards. This would allow the player a much stronger start to the game, reinforcing a differing playstyle where they command Facility Guards. Next, we have the Gatekeeper, a special facility guard that is expected to monitor checkpoints and secure movement between zones. This facility guard will spawn in the window section of checkpoints, having a more time-efficient spawn. This would allow the player a better spawning point, where if they want to enter heavy containment zone, they can do so immediately. Lastly, we have the Reformed, a facility guard with a criminal background before they turned a leaf and ended up in the SCP Foundation, giving them sympathy for criminals. When the facility guard detains a player, that player cannot get uncuffed, unless the player uncuffing them is also on the Foundation's side. In addition, these cuffs will take the guard being much further than usual to break off. Helping roles escape as this facility guard also gives more tokens. This gives the player a stronger ability to deal with Class D, as well as help the Foundation Forces team win.
Hoi, hoi, hoi. I have 50 million keycards in my kingdom. Hoi, hoi.
Oh no!
Yeah!
I'm thinking,
Yeah!
Yeah! Oh, shucks.
a person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts.
You're a monster, always forcing us to die in these gruesome ways. I'm gonna kill you!
What makes you think you can beat me? I have 30 million keycards in the SCP facility, and I'm the game developer. You don't have what it takes.
Oh, really?
Bring it on, old man.
For my freedom! For life!
Now we tread into some murkier water. While Class D, scientists, and facility guards are easy to go over, as there is no deeper variety to the class, that's not the case for MTF and Chaos Insurgency. These factions have a deeper level variety, with roles that hold different weapons, armor, health items, and authority. Yet I still believe there is a bit of playing room with these classes, a way to slightly twist how they are approached while keeping the main idea in place. Let's delve into the MTF. The MTF are sent in by the SCP Foundation to secure the facility undergoing chaos. They recontain SCPs, exterminate or return lost Class D, and subdue any threats. They are made up of cadets, sergeants, and captain. Starting off with MTF cadets, we have the scouts. The cadet would spawn with a pair of light armor instead of the usual combat armor, giving the player weaker protection. To make this sacrifice worth it, the scout would have a far longer stamina if using light armor, giving the scout a huge buff. This would allow for an optional ability, where the player can run longer at the cost of less protection. Next up for the cadet, we have the field medic. The field medic holds an extra medkit, entering the facility with partly better loot. In addition, this subclass would be able to use health items on other players, with it being far more efficient. The time it takes to use the item on other players is far quicker, allowing for easier healing to teammates. This would help the player be an assistance to its team, holding a viable ability that can alter interactions while remaining optional. Moving on to MTF Sergeants, we have the Breacher. The Sergeant would spawn with a flashbang instead of a grenade, being a different loadout. To make up for the loss in powerful weaponry, flashbangs would not count towards the Breacher's grenade count, allowing them to carry as much as they please. This allows the player an ability other players don't have, holding far more flashbangs at the cost of a slightly weaker loadout when entering the facility. Lastly, we have the Sharpshooter. The Sergeant would spawn with a crossfec instead of an Epsilon, having a slightly less efficient firearm by most standards. To accommodate for this, the Sharpshooter would have a reduced accuracy debuffs as long as they hold a weapon of crossfec or weaker. This allows the player an optional ability to either sacrifice stronger weapons for higher accuracy or take normal accuracy with stronger weapons. Lastly, we'll delve into the Chaos Insurgency, another faction in the SCP universe that seeks to exploit and use anomalous entities to their own advantage, taking advantage of the facility's weakened state. To start us off, we have the Chaos Rifleman, seeing the Spy. The Spy starts the game with a radio in addition to its loadout. This radio starts turned off so as not to drain the battery, but the Spy can obviously easily turn it on. Holding this radio would give you information about MTF squads that have been sent into the facility, with the soonest one underlined. This would give the Spy an ability to talk to MTF, while having key information about their squad names, so as to blend in and gain information. Moving on to the Chaos Marauder, we see the Grenadier. The Grenadier starts the game with a grenade, but no painkillers, serving as a way to swap out their starting loadouts. This would grant unique items. While entering the facility to be used differently, they hold their own unique pros and cons. So, let's discuss what we've done. We've added multiple new subclasses that people can get, regardless of role, that give changes to the roles, ranging from just mere items being added or swapped, all the way to new abilities and an entirely new item. Class D have subclasses that highlight their criminal background and desire to escape. Scientists have subclasses that highlight their role in the Foundation and unique skill sets. Facility guards have subclasses that highlight their obligation to the Foundation and unique job in the facility. MTF have subclasses that differ from the starting item loadouts or have permanent optional effects that require you to use weaker items to have an advantage. And lastly, Chaos Insurgency have subclasses that differ from the starting item loot, as well as a play into the facts that the CI is invading the SCP's facility. For all of these roles, the changes in subclasses are thoughtful and deliberate, allowing players to have differing starting positions, starting advantages, or permanently situational abilities, allowing for differing strategies and ways to deal with unfolding events. Yet, all of these subclass abilities and items are minimal, keeping the roles and subclasses home to what they are, and not drastically altering or changing how you would see that role and play that role. And that's the entire idea. Like I've said in every video, I don't expect every idea to be liked, but rather hope this is just potential structure for actual changes to the game, plugins, or really anything. In all honesty, this video was probably one of the harder ones to make for me, because I don't know how I feel about the idea of subclasses. But this video stems from Dr. Bright's and my experience playing on it in the past. The subclasses they have always been interesting to me, but just too far-fetched to actually make sense in game. So, for the community and to just have something to talk about, I wanted to give actually understandable subclasses, at least somewhat, you know? Yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to say. This video was very explanatory, so not much more to add on. I just have to thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day, evening, or night. And until next time, see you on the flip side.